Brother Roop here. Talk right now about the composition of the early church. The church was very diversified from the very beginning. Acts chapter 2, we see that the early converts, the first 3,000 or more, were Jewish, devout Jewish people there for the day of Pentecost. And some of them were from the area, some of them were from overseas in the Roman world. And so it started off as a strong Jewish component, and then a lot of Greeks came into the church, and a lot of Greeks lived in Israel at that time, and especially Jerusalem, because they were business people, they were traders. They traded goods and services in the area and throughout the Roman Empire. And so there was a lot of Greeks around there. At the time, there was a lot of Greek inscriptions you could find, and that shows how heavily populated the area was with Greeks there to do business. And so you had all these different languages, all these different groups of people. It made the church very diversified. A lot of the younger priests converted to Christianity, a great number of them, the Bible says, and they spoke Hebrew, and the Romans, quite a bit of Romans lived in the area because they had a large military force there, and the government was Roman. They spoke Latin, and of course the Greeks spoke Greek, and the common people all spoke Aramaic. So you had all these different languages. You had Hebrew, Latin, Greek, and Aramaic. So you had 4 different languages there to deal with, and you had the Jews, you had the Jewish priests who came in, you had the Greeks. I'm sure there was a few Romans there. Later on, you're going to bring in a lot of Samaritans. The next big revival's in Samaria, and so that's 5 different groupings there. 4 different languages, 5 different types of people. So the church at the very beginning is very diversified. And that's what helped the church grow throughout the Roman Empire, was its diversification. And when the Sadducees started persecuting the church and scattering them throughout the region, because it was so diversified, they found it very easy to go other places. The Greeks were businessmen. You can set up another business somewhere else, and as long as you stay in the Roman Empire. Romans as well. Greeks populated every part of the Mediterranean area, so it made it easy for them to move around. And the younger crowd, the younger Christians, they wanted to preach the word. They had the fire in the belly, and they wanted to preach the word. And so when they scattered, they went to other cities and started churches there. And so being a very diverse church from the very beginning was very beneficial. So when it got scattered, because the church was so diversified, it made them easier to establish themselves elsewhere in the Roman Empire. But as we're going to see, it was also become problematic because a lot of the Jewish priests who joined the church and older Jews wanted to keep it more Jewish, keep the church more Jewish than Christian. And the Bible calls them Judaizers, That's what the Apostle Paul calls them, Judaizers, because they wanted to keep Judaism inside the church, and they want everybody's to keep the festivals and to keep the Old Testament feasts and circumcising children. They want to keep all that. And Apostle Paul says, no, we need to get rid of all that. So, but anyway, we'll see that later on in the book of Acts, where Judaizers are very strong and try to change the church back to Judaism. But so that was a problem. But for mostly it was the diversification of the church was a good thing, and it helped Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire. So instead of squashing this Jewish cult, this Christian cult, we'll see the Pharisees actually spread the flames of Christianity throughout the Roman Empire. So that's what's going to happen. That's going to be very exciting. Thank you.